What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Tangents Podcast. This is going to be episode 81. We are preempting the originally planned episode 81 because the person that was going to be on had some family stuff, and we are going to go ahead and postpone that. So today, we are going to go down kind of a similar road, though. The conversation was going to be about a specific Kickstarter. We are going to be talking about Kickstarter kind of more generally. Now, Mike, you guys know Mike. If you don't know, Mike Emeritz, spacecatcomics.com. Or is that still right? Or
that'll get you to my store, which is awesome. System complex.
I'm trying to get you. I'm trank to get you the bag, man. You know, like
yeah. Might as well.
But Mike has kind of headlined and been like the main dude on a couple very successul Kickstarters. I was lucky enough to be part of one of those Kickstarters just as a participant, and I've as a consumer level, I've dealt with every kind of level of Kickstartering that you can imagine. You know, I have those that just made it, and you know, you get your product and it's good. And then you have the ones that just like blow it out of the water and you get like all sorts of extras, and that's always great. And then you have the ones that just never make it, or the ones that make it and you never get it.
Yeah. And then they show up someplace else.
Yeah, well, I've also I've gotten refunds twice now on two major Kickstarters that I put like $400+ in each time. And the first time around, it was this. The first time around was a long time ago. It was kind of the earlier days of Kickstarter, and I'm glad I got the money back. Honestly, I didn't know I could. Yeah. I didn't know if I would be able to, because it was like right around the time when they changed their policies. So I wasn't sure if I'd get it, but I did. It was like an Android gaming system, and it had this like super dope controller that was kind of like a touch screen, but you didn't have to touch it. Like, the promise of it and the concept of it was incredible. Just like out of this world. Like even today, it would be a next level kind of gaming system for Android. And I guess I should have known that it wouldn't be possible. You know, their excuse was, and then this was months and maybe even like a year after it was supposed to be shipped. They were like, "Hey, look," so like they were, first of all, they were dead quiet the whole time, right? Dead quiet, and everyone's like, "What the fuck is going on?" And then they finally come in and they're like, "Hey, so what happened was we had our original manufacturing deal, and like we set our price, and our income was based on that manufacturing deal. That manufacturer backed out of the deal, and we cannot find anything like remotely cheap enough. Like, everything else would be double the cost. So we would have to have more money to produce this thing." And I was like, nope, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing it.
Jeez.
Yeah. And the other refund was recently, and it was kind of a shame because there was, I don't know if you've seen, it was kind of like a poppy thing that was on Facebook all the time for a while. A few years ago, it was that folding drone. Like, the blades were all encased in a cage, and it folds up, and it was all like cell phone controlled, and you could like gesture control it. It was really interesting. And I played around with it at an Apple store one day, and I was like, I kind of want one of these. This is fun. Like, plus it's like it's encased, like it's permanently enclosed. Like, the blades are. It's not like something you put on. It's in like, there's no way to like hurt someone with it or damage something with it, right? It's a rectangle. It's a flying rectangle with rounded corners, thankfully. So like, I was like, I'm gonna get one of these, and then like when I went to buy it, oh, we're kickstarting a version 2, and it's gonna have all this cool new shit, and we were like, all right, you know what? I'm interested. They've already done this thing before. They know what they're doing, in theory. And that turned into another year and a half of waiting, and then it was all the software. Then it was the software. Oh, like, you know, the hardware is ready, but like the software just like it's not doing the things that we needed to do, and blah blah blah. And then they were working out of China, and then it's Chinese New Year, so there's a delay. Oh, we're having these like trade embargoes, so that's a delay. And I was like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
like, when are we gonna get this thing already?
Yeah, I was like, man. I'm out. Give my money back. And they just shipped in June or July, and they were supposed to ship March last year.
Wow.
So,
That's just crazy. I guess at least they were sharing updates along the way, though. Some of these
yeah, it
campaigns, they
wasn't
don't say anything. They just ghost
100%.
you, disappear.
100%. And I have had a couple, like I have one that I'm still waiting for the book. Actually, he just got him recently, so he's going to be shipping him soon. But he had a death in the family, and like he couldn't, like
Okay.
he had some shit to deal with and couldn't finish the last book because
Right.
it was 2 volumes. So like it was a lot of work. I bought kickstarted on the first volume, and he was working on 2 and 3 at the same time to kind of finish the whole trilogy. And he was like, "Hey guys, like had a death in the family, like." And I get that, dude. I get it.
Yeah.
Like I've dealt with that a few times now, sadly. So like, it sucks. It kind of sucks up a lot of your time. It sucks up a lot of your energy, and just you got to deal with your emotions. But he got back on it, after a while, and nobody was like rude about it. Everybody was super understanding because he was super good and fulfillment on time and everything about the first time. First time around.
That helps.
Yeah.
Your reputation's everything.
Exactly.
Everything.
Exactly. So, what I'm seeing is an interesting debate right now. I don't know if you've heard. I don't know if you've heard about the Keanu Reeves comic book.
No.
Really? Oh man, this is enormous. I'm so glad to like break this news to you. So, Keanu Reeves, because he's like the hot commodity again, because he's Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
He apparently was approached by Boom Comics, and they were like, "Yo, you ever wanted to make a comic book?" And he was like, "Of course." It's funny though, because the intro video, it kind of shows his ignorance in the subject matter. It's kind of like adorable in that he doesn't know what it takes, kind of thing. like he's not familiar. He's not familiar with the comic book space.
Okay.
So it's just it's like kind of adorable and funny, but it's a very interesting concept. It's like an immortal that is plagued by conflict and chaos, and he has to fight, but he's an immortal, so he's just having like this overall debate with this and having to deal with having to fight all the time, and that's kind of just his thing. And
because Keanu Reeves looks like he is immortal.
Yeah, exactly.
He does not age.
Exactly, man. And so it's a 12-issue series. I guess it's the first issue is coming out this month from Boom Comics, so it's coming out traditionally, and yet they came out with a Kickstarter, and the Kickstarter is like for hardcover graphic novel editions, and like it's three trades, 4 issues each, or it's the hardcovers. I'm a hardcover boy, I had to go with the hardcover. That's what I was asking you about the other day. I was sitting there and I was like, should I do this? I was like, I wonder if Mike is on. I wonder if he can convince me to or not to do this. So that's literally why I messaged you. I was like, Mike will tell me if this is a wise investment.
That's too funny, man. I wish I could have intervened. Unfortunately, I was about to sleep.
You know what? They had a day. It was a day one special. Like the three Kickstarter exclusive hardcovers are like normally 125, and the day one was 105. And I was like, 105 is not terrible for 3 hardcovers. Like 3 nice.
How many pages? How many pages each?
So it's 4 issues. So I think they said 128 pages per volume.
Okay.
So 300. It's like 300
per volume. Okay. Yeah. That's not too bad then for a brand new hardcover.
Yeah, exactly. It's not ridiculous. And I was thinking like, I paid $75 for the Kingdom Come, the Absolute book. That's like that's just what is it, 6 issues or whatever it was, 4 issues or 6 issues. Like that's not that long of a series, and I paid almost as much as I'm paying for this 12-issue series. Granted, there's a good deal. Yeah, and granted, there's like a bit of a value prop for like Ross art, and it's DC and it's Kingdom Come, and for sure there's a lot of stuff there. But I was just like, cool, like I'm in. And then because Google knows what you're doing and knows what you are thinking about. I see I swipe over on my phone and it's got the news, and it's like Twitter goes insane. Like creators lash out against Boom Comics because of this Kickstarter. And you have a bunch of people on the internet, a bunch of creators, people who have worked with Boom, being like, you guys can afford this book. Why are you kickstarting it? But I was like, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Like, I can't disagree with that. Like,
sure.
It, I can't argue that. Boom Comics is doing all right. They're coming out with new books all the damn time. Yeah. So it's like they're not hurting for money. And this is their first Kickstarter, so it's not like they've, I don't want to say like begged for money, but like it's not like they've done this before and they're just trying to milk the audience. But I think they're just using that brand recognition with Keanu Reeves, especially now that he's hot, to get that kind of upfront money. And I also, because they do have deals with Netflix, like they have they have an option deal with Netflix, so like Netflix can just pull from their library at any point they want to make something.
Yeah. That's interesting.
I feel like that's something they're trying to leverage and be like, hey, look at this book. It's huge. We raised it's over $500,000 already. We raised, $500,000, probably $1 million by the time it's done. There's still like 27 days to go. So like, I'm sure they'll be like, we raised $1 million with it. It's super popular, blah, blah, blah. And then Netflix makes a movie or a series. I'm just thinking.
Yeah. It's kind of like a moral/ethical dilemma point. Because I mean, it's a private company. It's free for anybody to use. So anybody can jump on there and do whatever they want.
Right.
But then you got people, I guess, complaining from the truly like indie perspective of like, hey, if you could afford it, why would you take attention away from these people literally trying to scrounge up money to print 50 copies or something? So it's that sort of thing. I don't know the answer to that, to be honest. I get the argument though.
And so that's where I'm coming at, because because you did all the math, you did all the hard work on that Kickstarter on both.
Well, Mel helped with a lot of that too.
But like you did all that hard work. Like you guys did the math, and you came at us with like, all right, this is what we're gonna need for all of us to get a copy and all the backers to get a copy, and it was $1,650. And to me, that's something you could slap that together from friends over a couple weeks.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that to me is it's not a ridiculous amount of money.
Right.
We funded it, I think it was like 3 or 4 times over. So we had a ton.
We funded within the first 24 hours the first time. And then the second time it was within 36 minutes, I think.
Yeah. So like
pretty close.
We killed it.
But for a low goal, yeah.
Right. But I also think, exactly. I think the practicality of the goal was, hey, we are here to make these books for you to read.
Yep.
If 162 people, which is the first volume, 162 people is one who wants to read it, we don't need more than the money to put that out.
Right. Any more would be great, but we don't need it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a for-profit endeavor
Exactly.
either. It was, whatever else we made was just going to create more books and maybe get put into making that book better.
Right.
And in some cases it did. We didn't hit like our far-reaching goals, but we still blew it away 5 times over. So
like
more than we asked for.
100%. We killed it.
Yeah.
So what I came up against is I'm online. I don't know if you've been on Instagram recently. So my Saturday post, which is today's post, my Saturday post is Black Creator Spotlight, and I've been just like, I've been like hitting the internet finding Black creators. It's actually been very exciting because I'm finding super dope art, incredible cosplay. Like just, I find that there is a lot of cosplay that like relies on sex appeal, and that's kind of its own thing. That's fine if people are into it. It's fine.
Not that anything's wrong with that.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I have nothing to say against it. I get bored with it, honestly.
I'm pro sex appeal.
I'm pro sex appeal, and like a sexy cosplayer doing like a full on like a Metroid cosplay, like a Samus cosplay. That's sexy. Full body suit. But if you're sexy, like if you're a sexy person to begin with, that's hot. That's hot to me. Like, because most of these characters are drawn hot to begin with, or rendered hot to begin with. So like you're just translating this into reality, and that's dope. What I get bored with is like bikini Cammy, bikini Chun-Li. It gets poolside Jean Grey. Like,
Yeah,
I get it,
yeah.
but like
It's
all
cute,
you are
too,
is
that
a
you're not
redhead in a
actually
costume at this point.
cosplaying. You know, you're
Yeah,
not investing much into the design or
exactly. All you are at this
creativity yet.
point is a redhead in a costume or in
Yeah,
a
look at my
soy
butt,
suit. Yeah,
and I got a wig.
exactly. So I appreciate people that
Different
put in.
convention, by the way. That's a whole different convention.
So I appreciate people that put in the time and the effort, and they sculpt the helmets and the masks and the armor
Totally.
pieces. Just like I've seen, like I follow a few people that like I don't really watch live streams, honestly. I do live streams occasionally, but I don't watch a lot of live streams. I just kind of like if I'm into a game, I want to game, like I want to join in the game.
Right.
And then other like just hangouts, man, whatever. What I found myself doing is watching people make costumes, just genuinely interested in the process and like the craftsmanship that goes into it. Cause like there's a lot of effort and energy. Like I sew just enough to like patch a hole in my shirt. Like, but when I watch someone like sew up like a 4-layer piece of leather for a suit, I'm like, that's super dope. Like that's next level shit. So I'm finding all these really, really interesting characters and people who are doing tons of great work. And like I picked up some dope books. Like I'm like in searching for these people. I'm like, oh, this person's got a dope book. Oh, they've got a full volume out. Let me buy that. So like I've spent probably a lot more than I should admit in the last few weeks. But what I found is a series was whatever on Kickstarter. And I was like, this looks interesting. And the person's promoting the series by showing off like how strong their character is, and they're doing all these variant covers for the Kickstarter. And it's like he's beating up One Punch Man, and he's beating up Goku, right?
I might have seen this actually. I've been seeing some posts of something like that recently.
I'm certain you have. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I wonder what this book's about. So I like check the page on Facebook, and the page is not very. It doesn't really have a lot of information on the story, on the character, on the book. It's got like links to a podcast that's, I don't know, questionably relatable. Like it's the name of the podcast is The Comic Book. Like it's the same thing, but then it's like one of the episodes had to do with like, should women of a certain faith be submissive to men? And I was like, that seems unrelated to this comic book about a space dude. Like, that seems way out there, but all right. Because I feel like you know, the Tangents podcast, we talk about fucking everything. We go everywhere. We go into every subject. But like, if it was going to be a tech podcast only, we'd only be talking about tech. You know, you look at something like Lou Later.
Sure.
Lou Later, I don't know if you know Unbox Therapy. Like he does a podcast called Lou Later, and all he talks is tech and like shit I wouldn't even think about. Like he talks about like tech stock prices and just like every kind of little nitty gritty detail about tech, and it's interesting. But like that's a tech podcast. If he all of a sudden pivoted into like, you know, should women be submissive to? I'd be like,
well, that's the new NVIDIA
going?
graphics card. But you know, what do you think about submissiveness of women? You know, I firmly believe that if you're going to run a GPU like that, get in the kitchen. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
A weird podcast.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So like I'm unsure about like why that's related. So like I'm looking at the Facebook page. I'm like, I don't have a lot of information about this book. Let me check out the Kickstarter. The video, okay. The presentation, and it's like you for me set the gold standard. Like when I go to a Kickstarter, I'm like, does this match up to the 100s Volume 1, where like everything about it, like every piece of information you could possibly want is on that page. And I open this page and it's like, here's the variant covers, kind of a little bit about the story. I think it's just for the one issue, so it's for the issue 0 of this book.
Okay.
And the goal is $20,000.
What? Is this the first issue?
Zero issue, unknown artist. 16 weeks ago is when the Instagram started. Because I went back, I'm like, am I missing something? Like, is this person got like a fan base? Like, am I missing something?
Is the art really good? Like, is it like...
The art's good, but like not... I mean, look, it's good. He's way better than me. But like... Okay. I would
If
put him on
someone's
like
coming out of the gate, with something that could be published in the mainstream or even some of the more, I guess,
I would say visually, I would definitely
Okay.
say you could see him, doing like a Marvel, like a Spider-Man or an Iron
Okay.
Man. Like
Well,
visually, I think the art is good. I think it's industry quality art.
wow.
But like to me, that doesn't this is an unknown character. Nobody knows about this. And like their main sales pitch has been that this dude is so powerful that he could whoop all these existing characters' asses.
Yeah.
And part of the Kickstarter is rewards of variant covers with these other people's property characters on them.
Ooh, that's a sticky situation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's a gray area right there. Are they sketch covers or are these going to be printed?
Nope, they're already colored.
Okay.
They're already
Yeah,
fully
I'm pretty
colored.
sure that's not legal. pretty certain that's not legal.
Like I get for promo
Somehow
purposes,
they did a parody, like if they had Superman's symbol, but it was a Z instead of a parody type situation.
There is like a legit image of this character having beaten up the entire Avengers team, and like very clearly Captain America, very clearly Captain Marvel on the ground holding the Infinity Gauntlet, like.
Wow.
And I'm just like, if you make those for Instagram to promo, and like this character's so dope, so powerful, go buy the book. And then I'm looking through this Kickstarter. I'm like, there's no information on this. Like, I don't know. And then like when you get to, it says the risks or whatever, it just says, I guess we should say something about risk.
Huh. And that's it?
That's all it says. And I'm just like, what?
It sounds kind of cocky, if I'm being honest. The situation sounds very cocky.
Very.
Which can be fine, not everybody who's successful is modest, and man, if he's got great art, then, come out balls to the walls. That could be cool. But you also got to think about business too, and stuff like that. That's kind of critical for your customers to have faith and trust in you. I don't know if you want to be like that in that situation. Kickstarter puts the risk section in there for a reason, so that you can be honest and transparent about the potential risk factors of this campaign. If we don't fund to this amount, this might not happen, or that that's also for your safety too. Let people know what you're dealing with, so that if something happens, you've said it already.
Right. Exactly.
Or boast about how prepared you are. Like for us, I put out there that it's very low risk because the book is done. Like the only risk is, are we going to fund or not? After that
was the thing for us, is we came in, everybody's stuff was done.
Yeah,
Day one of the Kickstarter, the book was over.
Yep.
There was no more work to be done besides like putting it together.
The only work we had left was like formatting, which that's not what most people are worried about. Oh, I hope the book is formatted correctly. No.
Right, exactly.
There's people waiting years and things haven't even been drawn yet.
Hold on. Hey Google, turn off the AC. Man, every time I'm recording, I forget. But I like that. I was just watching the thing they were talking about. Having all these smart speakers, and like if you know you have one, you'll use it. And I'm like, yeah, I could have picked up my phone and gone to the Nest app and turned it up, but like, that was easier.
That's pretty cool.
But so it was just very strange to see someone like just 20K, and then I'm looking at it and I'm like, have they done even promotion for this? Because like for me, if you're coming at this from a cocky perspective, from like, let's say you were completely unknown, but you worked on your craft, you put your 10,000 hours in, and you are coming at it like at a professional quality level, and you are hiring, because I'll get to it in a second. You're hiring, the best colorists, and you're hiring the best, letterers. Cool. You're coming at it from a professional quality level.
Right.
You should be doing professional quality marketing. Because if you're saying 20K is what I need, 20K is what you should be striving to get. So that's why when I saw that the Kickstarter itself was not like very well presented, I was like, eh. And then I see this was with like 3 days to go, or 7 days to go maybe, $500 raised, and now it's like 900.
Yeah, well, that kind of stuff can rub people the wrong way when you're coming at it like from that kind of cocky perspective, but not in a tongue-in-cheek kind of way.
Yeah,
people can see through that, and it's not so fun. Like when Todd McFarlane is cocky, it's fun. You're almost in on the joke because he's being facetious, and you could feel that. That's part of an image that he creates. Yeah. That's kind of funny. Image, but
right.
That just. But no, it's a little different, when someone's kind of like that and they're kind of nudging you in the ribs with it, it's a little different. But when you're serious, that just rubs people the wrong way.
That's
No
what I'm
matter
saying.
how good the work is,
And that's where I was coming from, and I was like, look, this looks interesting. So like I went on the page, and on one of the posts where they were trying to promote the Kickstarter, I was like, it's a shame this didn't pop. This looks interesting. I would have been interesting to read it.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I said something along the lines of like kind of curious, like why you would need $20,000 for a single issue.
Mm-hmm.
And they were basically like, thanks for the interest. I believe that my audience deserves quality. So I was like,
so you're not even his audience here.
Apparently,
you're like a commentator.
Apparently, but I was, because again, I'm interested in the product, so like I'm just genuinely curious, and I want to know. So yeah. I go into DM, and I'm like, hey, just like wanted to suggest some things. Like $20,000 is a lot. Like I don't know if you've like done the necessary math for the behind the scenes. Like if you take a look, and I put up the 100th Kickstarter, I'm like, I was part of this, and this is how we did it. And, we did it successfully for a lot less money. And like, I would put that trade up against any Marvel book without question, like quality wise, like print quality, like what's in your hand. If you slapped Avengers on it, it'd be the same book to me. Like, I think we did a good job. I think we created a good product. So I'm like, hey, like maybe consider like a more practical goal, like less for profits purpose and more so for the actual printing of the book, like get it into people's hands. He was like, well, I hate that. Like as a creator, I hate that idea. I was like, you hate the idea of getting your product into people's hands? I'm not saying like shit it out and like scribble it and send it out. Yeah. Like I'm saying produce the quality product that you want to produce. And it was just and the cockiness that you mentioned just came across. Straight up called me peasant at one point.
What?
Peasant.
What?
Peasant.
Oh, well, fuck that guy then. Like, seriously. I don't even know.
Straight up called me a peasant at one point.
That's not cool.
And I'm dude, you're not going to get... Oh, by the way, he said, next time it'll be $50,000. I was like,
great. And you cannot fund even work. What sense does that make? See, that's not cool.
I'm saying. And he was trying to like break down like our numbers. I'm like, we didn't get, because he was like, how much did y'all get paid? I was like, it's not about getting paid. Like we got books. So if you want to like math it out, we all got 10 books in the end, a piece.
Yeah.
So let's call it $20 a book, $200 a person, 20 people, $4,000.
Yeah.
If that's our profit margin, if that's what you want to call it. And he's like, my colorist gets more than $200 per cover. And then I was kind of like, it's a lot of fucking money for a cover, bro. Like for just color? For just a
colorist. Yeah, that's not
like,
even.
I'm not saying there aren't people that should get that.
Sure.
But like, I saw the covers. They're not those people. Like,
but the thing is, the colorist isn't getting anything if the thing doesn't fund.
Right. Or if they're already paying for it, then like, are they just trying to recoup the money that they've already put into it? Because like, I've seen like they have completed pages, so like, I'm presuming some of the work has already been done. And it's just like, if you're then trying to like, why don't you put that into the information? Like, hey, like this much of the book is done. Like, we're trying to cover that, what's been paid, and to finish it. Because that was originally my plan with Wolfpack. I was gonna out of pocket pay for the first issue or whatever, and then be like, hey, this is what we've done, this is how much it costs, and this is I want to get the other 5 issues done. Right. And I feel like that's a transparent way, it's an honest way to come across like, hey, this is how much this costs to make.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going with it. But it's just, it like blew me away. And it was just like seeing like everyone freaking out about this like $500,000 raised for the Berserker thing. And then also having that conversation in the same day, basically. I'm like, how is this a thing? Like, people are so mad about this $500,000. And I think, hold on, I'm going to pull it up real quick, the Berserker. And we're going to see.
That's what it's called? The Berserker?
Berserker, yeah. It's Berserker. Let me pull it up real quick to see.
Kickstarter. For a second, I thought you were talking about Jeff Lafferty's Berserker knot. I was like,
No,
really?
no.
Half a million? I don't know he made that much.
Berserker.
Awesome.
There it is. BR. Yeah, it's no vowel, so it's Berserker. So right now it's almost a 600K, right? But the original was 50K. But that's with Keanu Reeves on the ticket.
Yeah.
That's with Ron Garney on the art and Matt Kent on the writing. Like,
okay. So you got some names attached.
names.
Yeah.
Names attached. It's Boom Studio, so you know they can produce it. So there is a trust value to it.
Oh, totally.
And it's not floppies. It's not a single issue. It's three, at the very least, 3 soft cover trades. Like,
well, and I mean, it's easy to compare like a big thing like that to this guy doing his first book or whatever. But I think even comparing that guy to other smaller campaigns is worth noting, because he's not funding because it really sounds like the way he's coming off to his audience, to his people, is very abrasive. It's very condescending.
100%.
That's not gonna do it. Like, I mean, you're a potential customer, so that sort of interaction and a peer, here you were part of something. You're saying, hey, we did this successfully. Here's some tips. Here's some advice. And he's just like, yeah, whatever. Fuck you, peasant. Like, nobody wants to support anyone like that, no matter how good they are. No matter how good they are. There's a point where your arrogance actually prevents you from achieving what you could with the skill that you have.
100%.
You gotta. I don't know that. If that's how he treats people, that's not a great way to build an audience. Things that fund, comics that fund, they treat people like people. They respect the audience. You don't necessarily have to beg, but you convey your appreciation. Of anybody who's in any kind of creative field. I don't want to use the word privileged, but it's a different kind of situation where you really do owe some respect and some thanks to the people who support you and buy your work and share it with other people and give you praise and all that, because it's not like a normal job. Like a carpenter doesn't need to go and do that kind of stuff to continue
100%.
to get work. So I don't know, that just rubs me the wrong way. I mean, to each his own. I don't, begrudge the guy in any way. I mean, if he can make it work, then great, So it's nothing personal. But just from what I've heard from you today, it sounds like he's really burning bridges before anyone has crossed them.
Yeah,
that
was kind of what I noticed right out the gate because, like I said, he's been posting these images of his character beating up all these other characters. And, people have opinions, especially when it's Goku, especially when it's One Punch Man. People have opinions about that. So people are in the comments like, yeah, right, that would never happen. And he's just in there like he would stomp, whoever. And he's just like backing up this bravado about this character. And like I said before, like if that's what you're creating, if that's your marketing ploy for like this character is so incredibly powerful,
right?
Fine. But like you're trying to sell that art. You're trying to sell other people's characters. And like, and so I was like trying to like pass along whatever little bit of information that I have and trying to give him like ideas of like how to approach it in a different way. He's like, we're distributed by Diamond.
Oh,
the book ships in November. I was like, really?
Great.
And I was like,
that's good.
He was like, we're just doing the Kickstarter to give people a chance to do these variant covers. So I was like, all right, let me check because it's Diamond. Their catalog is online.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that book doesn't exist on Diamond. I mean, as of right now, I don't. I'm confident that the November orders are probably in this month. But I'm just. It's very interesting to me how people feel like they need to just like come. It's so very strange.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Well, enough about this guy. You're giving him more press than he deserves.
I'm saying. Well, that's why I didn't mention the name or anything like that. But so one other thing on the Berserker tip, the people who are complaining about Berserker have been bringing up a very interesting point. For instance, one of the people complaining and making statements was an inker, and I forget their name, but they were saying that they were getting $20 per inked page, and now like Boom Studios is like hitting this massive Kickstarter and making all this money. and kind of like
$20 a page.
it's low. That's low.
Yeah, it is. That's
I feel like
ridiculous.
that's low for the 90s. That's low.
If you could do that page in 1 hour, maybe.
Right. Right. Maybe.
Ugh.
That's lean. Cause like I'll be honest, I make more than $20 an hour, and like when I hit 20, that was good, and then like going back to 20 at this point would be like, might tighten my belt a little bit. So like, and that's $20 an hour. If it takes you, I mean, I honestly, I don't know anyone that can ink that fast and well. So like, it probably takes more than 1 hour. So it's probably more than 20 hours, probably less than $20 an hour. So it's like, I was looking at that and I was like, well, that's a fair point. And then somebody else also brought up, these higher stretch goals are for just additional books. Like, I don't see the page rate increasing. And I was like, that's fair. That's also a fair point. But then you also don't know the deal on the back end. You don't know how much Ron Garney's getting paid per page, or if he's got a cut of the Kickstarter. I mean, like he's getting paid per page for producing a comic book that's coming out monthly. Is he also getting paid? Hey, you'll get 5% of the Kickstarter, or 3% of the Kickstarter, whatever.
Yeah,
you don't know, because that's all back end stuff. Like back end deals are
Right.
back end deals. And again, he's a name. Like he's a name. He did Captain America for a very, very long time. Like he kind of was the Captain America artist in the 90s. Like.
Sure.
So like to say, oh well, page rate's not going up. Yeah, but that's also like you don't know what the deals are.
Yeah.
So it's always like everybody's coming at it from a personal perspective, obviously. So, I might think a certain thing. And I mean, honestly, like Keanu Reeves don't need the money. You know what I'm saying? Like they could have given this book away for free. Like,
Right.
like Keanu Reeves, like, I just really want to put this out, because I know, who was it? Top Cow. Top Cow did that with Cyberforce a while back, like probably 5 years ago, maybe more. They did a Cyberforce Kickstarter, and their goal was to be able to give away the first issue of Cyberforce for free. So like it was free in the comic shops. It was free ever because they made the money.
That's cool.
And that the big thing there was that they're, trying to A, get the book to people, but B, expand their presence. Like if you're going to give shit away for free, people are way more interested. And then like because I bought into that, and I ended up getting like a box of like 20 something Top Cow comics. It was just like a bunch of but it was just like interesting stuff. It wasn't complete series. It was just like number ones and number twos, like a bunch of different stuff. So, but I did get like half a series, and I was like, well, this is interesting. So like I bought the other half online. So like I spent more money with Top Cow after having kind of gotten these tastes. So it ended up being profitable for them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they have excess books from previous printings. They sent them out to people. Shipping was the only cost, and they've got UPS deals, so they're not worried about that. So there's just something, I don't know. I feel like there's an inherent like, why do you need to go to Kickstarter if you're rich, if you have this money, if you are a established company? But
totally.
To me, this is how they should do it. This to me is the solution for comics going forward.
I see. More for like, if we shift in this direction, it could be better for the consumer.
Yeah, 100%. Because to me, this is the idea that I've kind of been shuffling around and trying to figure out like how to pitch it to my local comic shop guy. Be like, how do I prepay for the trade? Like, I want to prepay for the trade so I can just get the trade, like, because that's what I want to collect. I'm like, is there a way for you to give me like a digital copy of the monthlies or something where I can get the trade once it's ready? Because there's a bunch of stuff right now. I mean, obviously due to COVID, a bunch of stuff in the industry has gotten all sorts of crazy. But like, Empire is Marvel's new big event, and it's funny because I have like the free magazine that they shipped out to the comic shops. I have that, and the checklist for the event has shrunk by like a third. Like a bunch of the books that are in that original checklist just never got made. They were just like, nah, not doing it, because COVID. But like that's the kind of shit where, to me, like they should be able to be like, hey, we're putting out this free magazine. These are the books that are going to be in it, and then we're going to be, you can go to this website, and you don't have to do it through Kickstarter because Kickstarter takes a cut. But it's Marvel; they can make their own thing where you go online, you pre-buy the trade or the omnibus. Because for me, this feels like because it's like it touches into a bunch of different books. To me, this is like a big old omnibus kind of event. I would have prepaid for the Empire omnibus. It's very interesting to me. It's a whole thing with the Avengers and the Fantastic Four. The X-Men are involved. Like it's kind of a like a line wide crossover, and I'm into those. I would have 100%. If they were like, all right, $75 for the omnibus, it'll come out, I don't know, December. Dope. Here's $75. Give it to me.
Old.
like to me, that's an easy sell because then I don't have to wonder if it's coming out. I don't have to, and that also prevents people and prevents companies from having to like figure out what they should collect, because we have situations like with. And I'm going to keep whining about this until they fucking put it out. The 1997 Khazar series. They put 2 volumes together because it was Jeff Loeb and Andy Kubert. I think it was Jeff Loeb. No, Mark Waid and Andy Kubert. It was Mark Waid and Andy Kubert did the writing and art for the first 2 volumes. And that like finishes that story, which is fine, but then that comic series went on for like another 3 or 4 issues under a different creative team. I want that last fucking volume, but like it's a nobody artist. I'm pretty sure I'm sure if I checked it, you wouldn't know the name. No one would know the name. It's not great art. Like it's not great art. The story's kind of meh. But I'm a completionist. If Marvel was like, hey, these are the things that we will make into a trade for you on demand, I would be in. Because there's so much shit that they've done where they collect it a certain way, or, they think the order is this way, but then like there's a book missing. And I mean, they did that. They did that with the same trade. The soft cover trade for Fatal Attractions, for X-Men Fatal Attractions, Wolverine gets skeleton ripped out.
Yep.
Has a different book count than the hardcover does.
That's
came out at the same time. Like, don't know why. Has the same cover, just one is a hardcover. Like, the slipcase on the hardcover is the same exact image that's on the softcover, but the softcover is missing books. And I was like, what the fuck?
Is there like a reason for that, or is it just?
I'm sure it was a matter of just like bringing down the page count to make it like a reasonable price. And I'm like, that's dumb, because then those 2 issues of whatever of Uncanny X-Men aren't trade collected anywhere else. And I want to have everything in a trade. That's because like I would say most collectors are like me. They're completionists. They want a whole something.
That's the whole point, that you're waiting for the trade, is you want the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So having situations where it's like, oh, here's this whole thing, but then like we didn't include this one because it's not like really part of it. And then you have to wait years, if not decades, for another trade to collect that single, there's a Domino trade that I just picked up. Collects the original Domino miniseries, the second Domino miniseries from 2000. And then there's like part of an X-Men Unlimited book. Because like X-Men Unlimited is never going to be collected as a single thing. So like all these X-Men Unlimited stories, because it was like an anthology series, all of these individual stories are just being packaged with other trades, like where they seem like relevant. So there was like a just Domino.
Okay.
So like where
so not quite randomly, but
right. But it was a Domino centric story, so they put it in this Domino trade. But like that Domino trade only started existing 4 years ago, so like that issue came out a decade ago at this point, if not more. So like if you are a completionist, you can't collect certain shit in trade if they're just like doing this kind of, well, I don't know what to put in a trade. Whereas like if they went to a more kind of on-demand model, which like on-demand exists, like I just ordered an on-demand book. Granted, it's from like one of my favorite indie people, couples. There it is, Comfort and Adam. Wow, my brain just stopped.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
They did the Uniques, and they did a couple kind of like anthology things again called Tales of the Uniques, and that's on demand through drive-through. And they had told me at some point that it was going to stop being available, and I thought that I had missed the opportunities, but I just like happened to be on drive-thru, and I was like, I wonder if it's still on there, and it was. So I like ordered that shit right away, and like it's like newsprint, like the quality's not great.
Oh, cool.
And
That's a cool. Oh, you don't like it?
It's not well, like the
I like
quality's just
newsprint.
not great. It's like it's newsprint, but it's in a trade, so like it feels kind of weird.
Oh yeah.
And like the cut's weird, so like it because the borders are all black. Well, the paper's white, so like they didn't cut it straight on the white. So there's just like a section of the book is white still on the edge.
Oh jeez.
So like, and then like the cover is not like real cardstock. It's just like heavy paper. It's just like it was like this could have been done better.
Weird decisions there.
But it's like I don't know, I don't know how much input they had on that. I don't know if they made those decisions because I know Jibba. I don't know if you saw the podcast from a little while ago where I talked to Jibba. He's doing his stuff, and he was talking to drive through and getting sample copies and making sure the quality is at a certain level. But those are all decisions you can make ahead of time. But like if I can do that with an indie book, Marvel should be able to be like, hey, here are the available books we have. Like almost like a make your own trade. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
like if you feel that, like, if I as a consumer feel like, let's say Fatal Attractions again, Fatal Attractions includes a certain issue, but none of the editors agree, everything they're going to put out isn't going to satisfy me.
Right.
But if I have the option to be like, cool, soft cover copy, it'll have this many pages, it'll be this much money, that's a decision I'm making. They don't have to have, like, they don't have to pay someone to put it together. Because, like, I'd say 77% of the time, trades and omnibuses are just not well curated. A few of them are good. Like, the Zero Tolerance one is so solid because there's, like, it's like a page and it's like, this is what was happening Generation X. Now here's this issue of Generation X that's part of this crossover. And I was like, that's cool because that, like, gives you context and it puts you kind of in that whole situation. Whereas, like, the Trial of Gambit is just like, here are the comics in a collection. Eat it. Like,
yeah. I'm actually reading that right now, coincidentally. Trial of Gambit. Yeah.
I love that. That's one of my favorite years because that whole Shi'ar arc was hilarious to me because it opens with Sam Guthrie kicking the shit out of Gladiator. And it's just like the most beautiful moment because you have that, just like Joe Matt is like still to this day one of my favorite artists in the world because while his stuff is like super dynamic and action packed, but like when he does faces, he does them really, really well. So when he has that, like,
expressive.
when Gladiator has that shocked expression, like he didn't just kill this kid, he's just like, what? Like that face is ingrained into my brain. Like it will never leave my sight.
Yeah, that was cool. I'm just past that. I just started the Phalanx portion of it. So
it's such it's such a good arc. It's funny though because like that series builds on the original Phalanx Covenant in like a weirdly subtle way, and then weirdly again, unintentionally, I 100% think unintentionally builds into what eventually became the second Annihilation series, which was all about the Phalanx.
Okay.
Like it's all kind of like weirdly tied together, but wholly unintentionally. Kind of like all the shit that they did with Iceman over the years, where he was kind of like weird with women and couldn't hold down a relationship, and like certain behaviors, like he was super homophobic against North Star for a long time. And then it's like, oh, it turns out he's gay. He's like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, kind of like considering, but like none of that shit was intentional.
Right.
But it's
They're
just like
making sense of things that had already been established about his character.
Right. It's like he had 45 relationships and just really, really like desperately homophobic against North Star to the point where I was kind of like, he's really like stretching, like just like running away from this dude, jumping into the arms of the nurse, just like to prove his manliness and shit. And I was just like, this is so weird. At the time, I didn't think of like, oh, maybe he's gay. And then when they were like, Iceman's gay, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can see that. But yeah, I just think I feel like this whole Berserker thing is very interesting. It's like almost like an interesting case study to see how people, like how the industry reacts to it, and I think this is kind of where it could and maybe should go, in my opinion.
It looks like a lot of people might disagree with you, but I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into this a little more. This is the first that I heard about it, but I've seen similar things happen, and they've been met with a different reaction. So I don't know. Maybe it has to do with who's doing it, and maybe it has more to do with the specifics. Like you were saying, there's some inkers that worked with them that don't get paid very well, and so there's some animosity there.
100%.
But like McFarlane did a Kickstarter for that Spawn action figure, and nobody really had a problem with that.
Yeah,
not to this extent.
And then his whole thing was that he was going direct to consumer. Because now it's become, and I can kind of weirdly vouch for this. It's harder to get shit into stores.
Yes,
my wife works for a brewery, and for the longest time she was their like I don't know what the hell you call it, like merch promoter person. She would go to like liquor stores. Stores? The fuck am I doing?
Stores. Liquor stores.
She would go to like a Binny's and whatever, and would just like set up a little table and do little samples. And then be like, yo, you can buy that shit in aisle 5 or whatever. That was her job. And then there was some sort of corporate change in Binny's where now you have to like contact corporate. They have to approve it. Like, and it's a whole process, and it's almost impossible to get that first contact, let alone get through the approval process. So like they just haven't done that for like 2 years now, or 3 years now, because it's just hard. So like I get, because when I watched that video for Spawn, I was like, I see where he's going, because he's like, it's impossible to get to, like, you can't just go to a Target and get your shit into Target. You got to speak to number one in Target merchandising and then get all the way down to the store level and figure out. And it's just like, that shit's hard. And I'm like, I get that, because the stuff he's doing for DC, because like he's still doing toys. Like, I don't know if people are aware, but like McFarlane Toys runs all the DC shit now. It's very good looking because, it's McFarlane Toys. That's what he does. But like all that like, getting it into stores is handled by DC. They already have those relationships. So like there haven't been Spawn toys in shops for a long time. And now that he's kind of, going back at it, I'm sure he's basically entering it like a new player in the field. Him calling the number one guy in merchandising at Target is probably just like me calling the number one guy in merchandising at Target. Like, if that guy doesn't know you, it doesn't matter if you already do shit and did shit for a long time.
Yeah.
Like,
who are you again? Todd who?
Yeah, exactly. So like I could understand that like that's a roadblock, and he just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna go straight to consumer. I was so considering buying just that whole set. I was like, but I was like, it's my eyes are more interested than like my actual want is, because it ended up being like I looked at my collection upstairs of my statues and shit, and I'm just like, I really like robots. Like, overwhelmingly, giant robots are my shit.
You save some of that money for another robot.
Dude, I at this point I regret not having bought this $250 Power Ranger Megazord set. It was an Ultrazord. It was the whole original Ultrazord for $250, and I was like, I shouldn't. I walked away. Dude, those figures are like $300 to $400 each now. So that's like $1,000 investment for that same set. And I'm so mad about it.
Missed your chance, dude.
Dude. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I kind of like fight with myself about collecting toys and shit. But then just like recently in the last like year, I've really realized that I just really like robots. Like giant robot shit is just love it. Like Transformers, almost every different kind of iteration, I'm into it. Like, not the kid shit, but that's like this kid shit. Like, it's kind of boring. But like, that's why I was like, fuck, I should have bought those. But when I was looking at those spawns, I was close. I was like, that's all right. Because I like asked my friends, I was like, should I spend this much money on these toys? And they're like, toys? I'm like, yeah, but they're Spawn toys. Like, it's not the same.
And did they talk you out of it?
They did talk me out of it. Thankfully, though. Thankfully. Like I said, kind of like a couple days later, I was like, yeah, that was probably for the best. Like, I'm not, it's over. It's too much. It's too much. So, moral of the story is make smart decisions with your money, kids.
There you go.
If you're into Keanu Reeves, spend $100 on 3 hardcovers. Otherwise, don't.
And don't support cocky creators that call you a peasant.
Jesus Christ, definitely don't. That was so weird. It was like out of nowhere. Yeah, it was just so weird. He was like, goodbye, peasant. And I was like, whoa, what?
That's crazy.
It's nuts. It's nuts.
You gotta question the where someone's at in their head when they say things like that. If that's just in their vocabulary, what kind of person are
Yeah,
they?
no,
You know?
that's a really good point. That's a really good point. I don't know, like the last time I used the word peasant was in reference to some show like that had peasants on it, like
Right?
some sort
Like
of
kind
medieval
of,
thing.
yeah.
Like I just like that's not a word I use. Who uses
Or
the
like
word?
in a facetious way, but
Yeah,
not literally.
blew,
Wow.
blew my mind. I was like peasant. That's a and that to me just like speaks to what you said. Like that ego. That ego is huge. If
Yeah,
you see
that
people as peasants,
that rubs me the wrong way. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people like that in the indie world. There's, and he's got good work. I haven't seen it, and I'm not gonna, I'm not trying to trash talk anybody, but a lot of the times that kind of attitude tends to come from people who have a different perception of themselves than kind of the reality. So that would tend to come from someone who's, not that great, but
right?
they have this persona, this bravado. But it does come with people who are really good too, and I don't know if it's like an ego thing, or maybe they had to overcome a lot of adversity, a lot of people who maybe put them down while they were getting started, and so they've built up this sort of defense mechanism, or I don't know, but it strikes me as very
No.
well, antisocial, to be sure.
Yeah.
That's not normal behavior to be like that, and to be like, you versus the world.
Right.
There is a lot of that. There's people that are like, they consider themselves gods. It's like, okay, I mean, you draw really well, but that doesn't put you above anybody.
Right.
It's weird, man. It's a weird world with a lot of weird people in it, and I think the best way to go about it as a creator is to err on the side of being humble versus the opposite. For sure.
I'm saying.
You have to be. You just have to be. No matter how you look at it, whether you're like a spiritual person or not, or whatever, like being able to draw well, being able to create things that connect with people is, it's a gift of some form or another, and I think you should be more appreciative of the people who see it that way as well, instead of, I don't know, treating yourself above everybody. It's weird. It's very weird. It doesn't win fans, that's for sure.
100%. Very wise words from a very wise man.
I don't know about that.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you sitting down with me to have this chit chat about Kickstarter shit.
For sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Always good to chat with you. I'm staring at your gift, and I'm still not going to tell you what it is. I'm staring at your gift every day, and I'm just like, I'm like, 2 hours is not that bad. Like, I can just like show up and drop it off and just like watch him take it. Like,
you have a gift for me?
Yeah, I told you I have a gift for you. It's super, like I feel like it's in your vein very much. Kind of like it's a piece of production from a thing.
Is it a bust?
No. It's a piece of it's a part of the process of creating a comic book.
I see.
So it's an actual piece of the whole process from a comic from the 90s. But it's it's 2 of them actually. I mean, I'll tell you. All right, I'll tell you.
No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. I'd rather be.
But yeah, no, I wanted to drop that off. I'm like, it's 2 hours, it's not even that big a deal. Like, I'll have to come down.
Dude, I found. Well, we could talk about that
for sure. All right, Ben. Thank you for hanging out.
Absolutely.
Everyone who's listening, everyone who's watching, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next one.